Hi, Anna. Thanks for sending this in. My name is Ellen. I'll be correcting these essays for you today. Let's take a look at the international student enrollment at Sheffield University. Let's see what you said. The line graph shows the number of enrolled students at Sheffield University for the years 2005 to 2009. It can be clearly seen that the popularity of university between pupils changed over the period shown. Countries such as Iran and Turkey started off at a pretty low point in 2005, but eventually they experienced substantial growth right up to the year 2009, whereas the line related to Greek students witnessed a downward trend during the given period. Okay. Let me see something here. All right, it's 204 words. So your length is fine. I'm not really super excited about this paragraph. This is supposed to be your overview, and it felt a little too much, basically, for me. It felt like too much information in here. Remember what the overview was supposed to show. Okay, it's supposed to really just highlight the main trend, the thing that's most obvious here. Okay. So that's the first thing. You really went into a lot of details with this like pretty low point in 2005 and then substantial growth. So you really need to do something much more general. The other thing you need to do is you need to talk you have to mention the countries here. The line graph shows a number of enrolled students at Sheffield from Iran, Greece, and Turkey for the years, okay? And that would have been okay. It's not the most fluid sentence. I think it could have been better written, but you need to include which countries are being discussed here, okay? That really does go in your introduction. For me, a better overview would have been something like this. Overall, while the figures for Turkish and Iranian students increased over the period, Greek student numbers witnessed a considerable decline. Okay, and that's how you write a solid overview for this. And that would have been, just perfect. All right, let's move on. In 2005, why is it applications? It's not applications, careful. Applications and enrollment are something different. Applications are how many people have asked to attend the university, but that doesn't mean that just because they ask, they're all attending, they're all enrolling. So be careful with that word. It's not the right vocabulary word here. So in 2005, the enrollment from Iran and Turkey commenced to increase steadily. Okay, you should tell me where it is. And finished the year 2006 at nearly 50 and 60 respectively. Let's see. Iran and Turkey finished the year at 50 and 60 respectively. Okay, it's really meaningful though if you tell me where that number started. Okay, because you went straight to 2006 without telling me where it was. Okay. So that was important. You don't really have a ton of information here. You only have 15 pieces of data. So you don't want to miss the beginning. All right. That's like missing the beginning of a story. When you do tell a story, when you hear a story, you definitely want to know what that beginning is, don't you? Okay. So keep that in mind, and definitely include those initial points. Okay, so meanwhile, enrollments from Greece started at the point of 180 and then decreased to approximately 160 in 2006. 182, okay, fine. There was a plunge in the number of Greek students. It's not applicants, from nearly 160 in 2006 to around 70 in 2007. Yes, okay, fine. Subsequently, throughout 2007 and 2008, get rid of this. This number remained steady with a further drop to just above 40 in 2009. Okay. between 2006 and 2009, Turkish students increased. And then again, it's not applications. So let's try that again. Between 2006 and 2009, Turkish students increased moderately and reached their peak of 120 in 2009. So what's the last figure you gave us for Turkey? Last figure you gave us was over here in 2006. You said 60, right? Okay, so that's really interesting because the last figure you gave us for Turkey was over here, and it was 60 at that time, and then you said it reached a peak at 120. So it's interesting. From here, right, which is where we are, the next figure you give us actually is this, which is double. I do hope that you mention that because that's the kind of information that really provides something like it's like a highlight. Okay, so yeah, gradually increase. Yes, that's true. But this gradual increase is actually a double of the previous number that you mentioned. So I hope that you mention it. Okay, in the same time frame, Iranians, you don't need the apostrophe here, increased gradually to the point of 90 in 2008. They were 50 in the previous time. Okay, so you could have said nearly doubled to 90 in 2008 and then further rocketed to 160. Okay, so you mentioned, I mean, with the exception, of course, of these two here, you mentioned the key points. So, okay, I think that if it were up to me, I probably would have done this a little differently. So, one thing that I would have done is I probably would have started with Greece and I would have had one paragraph just about Greece. Okay, so I would have talked about the beginning figure, 180, and then I would have, oops, what did I just do? Sorry. I would have had that 180, and then I would have talked about how it dropped 20 students the next year. And then I would have said in the following year, it dipped to about 70, so which is a drop of around 110 students. So that's less than half of its initial number. So these are the kinds of statements you want to be making. So in 2007, it dipped to less than half of its initial figure at 70, where it remained for 2 years before dropping even further to 50 in 2009. And that's it, you're done with Greece. Then I would have a separate paragraph for Turkey and Iran. Okay, and here it's interesting because you can see that Turkey really took off. All right, it had a we talked about this earlier, so it started at 20, and then for 2 years, it just increased really exponentially. So the next year, it more than doubled. And the year after that, it's like a fourfold increase, really. Okay. So it's interesting to note here that now in 2007, suddenly Turkey, of the three countries, has the highest number of students at Sheffield. Okay. And then you can continue just saying that it continued to increase gradually. But this gradual, again, it's double this number. And then, okay, you can do something similar. Obviously, Iran's figure is again an increase from 40. Again, you can talk about this. It doubles at around 2008. So it's increasing steadily until it doubled the initial, or you can say it doubled the 2000 figure in 2008 at 80. Then between 2008 and 2009, as you said here quite appropriately, it rocketed to 160, which is 4 times higher than the original figure. So these are some of the connections you want to be making here. And then you could also say that Iran ended the period as the country with the most students at Sheffield. Okay, so those are some of the things I would like to see here. And I think it makes it more meaningful than kind of using all this stuff as an overview. This didn't really feel like an overview. Okay. All right. So let me see. Do you have, okay, you think your task 2 is in a separate email. So let me get that now. So let's take a look at your task 2 now. More students are choosing to study at colleges in a foreign country. Benefits outweigh their drawbacks. Fine. Let's see what you said. It is evident that education plays a crucial role in a person's life. An increasingly large portion of, not graduators, that's the wrong word. You could say graduates, which is okay, but usually we reserve this word, I mean, for not really for high school students. You could say students, that would be okay. Or, yeah, you know what? Why don't we say students? Let's try it. An increasingly large number, a proportion of students opt for educational institutions overseas. Now, I took out choosing because that's what opt for means. Okay? So, an increasingly large proportion of students opt for educational institutions overseas. In my opinion, the positives prevail over the existence of certain disadvantages. That's fine. Again, you can get rid of this. The positives prevail over certain disadvantages. That would be okay. This might be a little too wordy. So, general rule of thumb is don't use 4 words if you can use 2. Don't use 2 if you can use 1. Clarity and simplicity are a sign of clear, good writing. So let's continue. One of the main reasons uh, for entering the university, not the university, but a university, because there's not just one university. So, one of the main reasons for entering a university abroad is getting the level of knowledge which cannot be acquired in a home country. An opportunity to have studied in a foreign country creates a long lasting effect throughout the entire life. It is not solely invaluable knowledge being obtained, but a vast range of perspectives is opened up also. Okay, that's would have been better. A more profound awareness of the state of affairs in a certain area makes a person appealing to the employers. Okay, explain this to me. Consequently, a knowledgeable employee is able to climb the career ladder rapidly and explore various job prospects. In addition to that, while immersing into the local culture and society, it is next to impossible not to get acquainted with people around. This results in expanding one's apostrophe S social network, which is extremely essential for the human. Okay. Let's see. What I felt here is that you had a lot of ideas about this, and that's great. But what is a good general rule of thumb is to not include every single idea you have. In an essay like this, you want to stick to 2 ideas maximum and then just really develop those as much as possible. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that the links between some of your ideas were not 100% clear. So, and it's funny because a lot of times I tell students, don't use too many of these linking words like firstly, secondly, for example, for instance, etc. When you use too much of those, it creates not really the most fluent cohesion. However, these words do help in certain instances. And I also want to say that they're not the only ways that we have to create cohesion. And I definitely felt like there could have been a little more happening here to make the links between your sentences a little clearer. Example of what I mean. You said that you get a level of knowledge which cannot be acquired in a home country. Okay, and then you have this sentence. So I didn't really understand how these 3 sentences were linked together. An opportunity to study in a foreign country creates a long lasting effect. So this to me didn't feel like it really linked to anything. So what you could have done, let's see. You said knowledge which cannot be acquired in your home country. This is an opportunity that creates a long lasting effect throughout one's entire life. That is because it is not solely invaluable knowledge being obtained, but a vast range of perspectives is opened up also. So do you see what happened here? This way, I didn't use a lot of these, for example, for instance, and so forth, but using words like this and that kind of cleverly makes the link between these ideas a lot clearer. Okay, let's see. Um, and then here again, you could have said another benefit of attending university abroad is etc etc. Okay, so looking at this again, I take back what I said. It's not that you had too many ideas, it's just that you didn't link them together appropriately. So it didn't create a chain of ideas, it just felt like disjointed ideas that and the flow of those ideas wasn't really clear. Okay, so I think that's what was missing, some good cohesion here. All right, let's continue. Now you can't really say on the other hand here. When you use on the one hand, you have to use on the other hand, and when you use on the other hand, it means you had to have used on the one hand here. So you want to use a different kind of linking device here. So you could have said something like, that being said, okay? Or even like a however would be all right as far as I'm concerned. So that being said, even if a person has a tight schedule and is snowed under with work or is surrounded by new acquaintances, a sudden change of environment generates the feeling of homesickness. Okay. The necessity of starting life from scratch can lead to confusion and distract the student from the imperative tasks. On top of that, there is a possibility that lack of communication with one's apostrophe s nearest and dearest, not lack of communication with one's nearest and dearest will result. All right, let me try that again. On top of that, there is a possibility that lack of communication with one's nearest and dearest and not having strong support will establish a division among them. Okay, let's talk about this in 1 minute. To conclude, having weighed up the positives and negatives, it is comma. It is clear cut that time, strength, change of habits, and efforts contributed in order to accomplish the studies will facilitate sizable differences in a person's life. Okay. I didn't love that this was like a list here. Maybe you could have done a little more. Maybe you could have separated some of this and created 2 sentences rather than just one. There are a couple of other things that I want to say as well. This is the side that you supported. This is the side that you didn't support. Um, Typically, this should go first. So you have introduction, and then you have this, which is called your concession paragraph. And then you talk about this, which is the side that you actually support. This gives it more weight. When it comes towards the end, right before your conclusion, it gives this paragraph more weight. It remains in the mind of the reader more. So it's a good habit to get into, to put the side you support at the bottom. Okay, that's one thing. I also thought you could have developed this a little more. You want to make sure that your paragraphs feel more or less equal in size. Okay, this definitely felt shorter than this. I thought that you could have done a little more, could have put a little more development into this. Okay. But on the whole, okay, just the things that we talked about, some of the grammar, some of the cohesion, which was more of a problem here than it was here. All right. So those are some things I want you to think about. Okay, Anna, so that brings us to the end of this essay correction. I hope you found it useful. I hope that the feedback was clear and you understand some of the changes that you need to make in your writing in order to progress in your IELTS preparation. You'll get a link to different ways that you can work with us in the email accompanying this video. So definitely take a look at them, see which option feels like it's the best fit for you. I think that, in my opinion, it could go either way. You could sign up for the essay corrections, and that would probably help you, or you can sign up for something more comprehensive and do the online course with us, which also includes essay corrections. I think either one could potentially be a good option for you. So see if that's something you could do. I know I'd love to continue working with you. I hope we can continue working together. So thanks so much for sending this in, and I want to wish you tons and tons of luck.